Hunter x Hunter chapter 408. Wow. This is one of those moments, right? When I think of Hunter x Hunter as a series, there are some big shock moments. We've got the Requiem by Chrollo. Of course, we've got Kite's death. And then we've got the sudden twist of ordering martial law. Now, this is one of those chapters where I think I need to reread it 8 times because this was honestly shocking. It was incredible. It's my favorite of the new batch. It's probably one of my favorite in the series. This was absolutely phenomenal. It was so ridiculously well positioned in the story. This happened exactly where we needed it to. It was so scrumptious. It was so welcomed. But I've got my notes, of course, the big one at the bottom. But let me just quickly jump through this chapter and then we can talk about really what the implications of all of this are and give a more honest rating. So the chapter starts off and we go back to the card game between Borskin and Marena. And you know, it's established that chit-chat's allowed, so they're talking and they're getting to know each other, as it was already started, right? And then after this, we learn that Marena wants to destroy all of Kakin but humanity. We already knew this, but the presentation, right, in the panel that's used to show this to us, to discern this imagery of it, is quite moving, right? It's a panel where Marena looks both eerily creepy and scary, but also beautiful and sad. You know, she almost feels like an underdog. But it's a very scary thing to say because she's a very live underdog. So, getting back to this, we learn that, of course, Marena is getting into her backstory because, of course, that's the card that Borskin chose. And we got the most confusing moment in the story for me, right? After I read this, I went to all the Hunter x Hunter group chats I'm in, and I'm just like, everyone, hold on. We need an emergency meeting right now. What is going on? And I figured it out, right? With the help, of course, of those amazing people. And that is that this is not the real Marena Prudo. In fact, the real Marena Prudo is in the grave and dead. And she's merely playing as Marena Prudo to have climbed all the way up the hierarchy of Haley. Because of course it's already been established that royals or even conceived royals are more likely to be chosen as the boss. So this was just mere clever marketing on her behalf. And actually what she is she is a carnival child. Now, this is a very new concept we've just found out about now. But pretty much, the carnivals for the royals, it's a bit complex, but to simplify it for you, it's essentially a Diddy party, right? So there's these private, secret parties which are held at different locations, and the Kakin royals be getting busy. There's no other way to say it, right? Marena, or our concept of Marena, I'll keep referring to her as Marena for simplicity. Her mother is essentially a prostitute hired for this situation. Of course, she's not actually a prostitute, but she's forced in that position because what else is she supposed to do when your life's on the line, right? And she was conceived through having so much work put out for her. Clearly, of course, most likely drugs, as that got established in the NGL. It's a very big component of the Hunter x Hunter world. It's a world of severe poverty, of extremism. It's even more polarizing than our world we live in now, right? Essentially, Hunter x Hunter's world is an extrapolation of what North Korea is like. So we see that, of course, her mother died when she was 2. And these children, right, have these same marks put on them, which the children, which are unofficial royals, do. So that's how she managed to use it as disguise and bypass as the real Marena. And now we learned that while she was at these parties, there was a consequence, right? The punishment is death. So she established that her mother died at the age of 2, and she got put into an institution, right? And this institution was run by Haley. And this is where the original connection got made. So she was in this institution and was being fed propaganda, right? Pro-Kakin propaganda, And this is where she started to learn that the world is false. And she stayed very up to date with these secret parties, these carnivore situations, or the Hunter x Hunter Diddy parties, right? And she's managed to deduct that these parties have been going on and on and on. And in fact, the recent one was after Kakin clearly had a change of heart, right? It was the public denouncement of how they used to be in the past. And this was the end of the evidence she needed, right? Because she'd already figured out that through the propaganda where Kakin was the best in some areas in the world and in the worst in others, and there was this rejection, this closing off of the outside world, that everything was a lie. So, of course, the lèse-majesté, which is, of course, the protocol which got her mum killed, has clearly left quite the enormous impact on Morena. So, we learned that, of course, Hayley was the people that really got her the opportunity to work her way up, as she was branded as Flesh. Flesh for, of course, Hayley and the Kakin Empire. And through that, she managed to hone her ability and plan her initial rise to power, as she is very recently got revealed to become the Hayley boss, which is quite exceptional, right? You'd think she was the boss forever. She's got the same effect on Hayley as Chrollo does on the Phantom Troop. And then, this is where the Phantom Troop links into the chapter, and it's quite exquisite. It's so well done. So, after this, we see that, of course, Bosenica is having an inner dialogue where she feels sympathy for Morena, but she's also got this insane motivation of she starts to realize the stakes here, and she's completely in over her head. So she needs to get out of this game the moment she can, if she can, which she doesn't think she can, right? And we get this finding out that the Dogman, right, the dog member that's level 50 out of Hayley, has smelled that she's a specialist, which is crazy. And we also get this reveal that he smelled this 60 other specialists so far in the Black Whale. Now, this is crazy. The Black Whale is filled with specialists. And I believe that what's going to happen is that they're all going to get recruited to Hayley. Because as we find out here, they have no choice, really. This whole game is a setup because they're not going to let anyone they tell their secrets to go out alive. And even if the odd chance they do, they're just going to kill them later anyway. So there's going to be a situation where Hayley is deliberately monopolizing on specialists and given the ability of Morena, which I'm so glad she called it a pyramid scheme, because I called it a pyramid scheme too. And it made me think like, yeah, you know, I got that right. But it's going to make it so that, because not only do they gain in power, they gain in knowledge, they gain in proficiency, and just gain in IQ in total. You know, her ability is really this this leech, right? This passing on things that shouldn't be passed on. They can bypass training to become Nen Masters. You kill enough people, you essentially become Netero. You kill even more people, you become a Meruem. You know, there's no limit to how strong you can really get. I mean, of course, there will be, you know, but we've learned that conditional Nens at play, being at play for this game. So that means that there's an initial boost even upon her abilities. So the people that are now recruited through this game have additional Nen boosts, you know, of course, linked to the condition of you can die if this game goes astray. So it's absolutely insane. Hayley is becoming quite the monopoly, right? I was very sure that Soranik was going to win the war. And then I became, you know, I started to think maybe it'll be Halkenberg, but I'm starting to not see how anyone can beat Hayley. You know, I don't think the Phantom Troop can take them out. I don't think they've got the firepower, right? Especially with big hitters like Uvogin that have left and Hisoka. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this all plays out. And then after this, right, we see that he's found Chrollo, right? And Chrollo's, of course, we get the confirmation. It was already, you know, we already saw it, but we got confirmation that his fight with Hisoka was a unification battle between Flowmasters, as Chrollo has been to Heaven's Arena before and become a Flowmaster. So it was very, very good to see. You know, it's always good to see Chrollo, especially from a different perspective, just to see how he's perceived the excitement that the Dogman has, which shows just again, a reminder of how special Chrollo is. It's easy to forget how special these characters are when we've been seeing characters like Meruem, Netero, and now Soranik. But yeah, everyone here is absolutely incredible. And after this, we get to see that Bosenica has managed to win the game. She's used an X, which leaves her 2 cards, being the abilities to leave, right? And we get this panel just before that happens of Morena, and her whole aura changes, right? It's such a dark aura. It reminds me of Illumi when Hisoka said he would kill Killua. She gets depicted, first of all, as this faceless creature, almost a bit like a Reaper, or the Grim Reaper. And then we see her as a skull, and the art style changes, and we see just how much she can flip the switch. You know, she's acting all cute and blushy, you know, so much so I'm almost like a teenage boy looking at like a really cute girl. I'm just like, oh, you would ask another question about me? She stops blushing. She's like, I was like, oh, Morena. But then, bang, it switches, and it's incredible. It is already there, already the best chapter of the new batch. You know, even if the bit that came after didn't happen, but this nailed the coffin, right? This is an incredible chapter. We get the confirmation that Benjamin has declared martial law. Bang! Like, what? You know, I predicted this, right? I predicted that in the next 2 chapters, Benjamin would declare martial law. And it's crazy, right? Unfortunately, I got spoiled. You know, in the future, please wait until the official releases before talking about, you know, the new chapter in my comments. Because, you know, I was half an hour away from the chapter release, from it coming on my Shonen Jump app. And then, bang, I read this of course, comment. I'm just like, oh, now I know he declares martial law. But it was such a big revelation that even knowing beforehand didn't really take away from the impact of it. It was so large in scale. It's essentially Benjamin's trump card. Now we're in the situation where Halkenberg's using his trump card, Benjamin's using his trump card, Sorainek's developing his trump card, and Morena's about to use hers at the funeral of Halkenberg. So we're about to witness the greatest bloodbath there might ever have been. I mean, really, when you think about just the quantity of specialists Haley is about to acquire, when we talk about just how powerful Sorainek is about to become through this training, we look at just how much Benjamin has a support of the royal army, and how much this royal army has been built over decades and generations. We see how much Halkenberg has got everyone fooled, and his ability is pretty much another pyramid scheme. You know, this might episode be called the Succession Pyramid. Like, oh my goodness, these abilities are insane. We have so many unique abilities. Of course, you got Chrollo, who's trying to level up his hunter skill set booklet, right? And I think a team up between Chrollo and Morena is inevitable, right? In my last video, I made a video about the team up between Hisoka and Sorainek, which I totally think is going to happen. I think this can be a situation where we've got Haley, the Phantom Troop, against Hisoka and Sorainek. Now, I think that what's going to happen after that is everyone else is going to band together to fight off those big parties. And the way that the storylines are, you know, carefully intertwining into one, makes it so fascinating. To get onto the chapter review, because I could talk about this for 24 hours straight, non-stop. This chapter was, I feel like Hisoka, man. This chapter was so good. It was ridiculously good. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 chapter. I can't think of anything that this chapter did wrong, right? Even its explanations of exposition to Bosenica, which is used characters, he managed to make it very concise. He managed to add some context. Like we got these this analytic from Morena herself about the rarity of the specialist being 1 in 3,000, which is very interesting for an end users. So even the moments which are the low points, right? It wasn't that low. It kept this really steady, you know, quality. And finding more out about Morena really makes her such an interesting character. Especially the fact she's not actually Morena, just playing off as her. And just the loyalty at play, right? You get this scale. At some point in the chapter, you probably had the same experience. you just sort of realize how big of a threat she is. Because when you see her explain her abilities so calmly, and you see just the way she's just, you know, I'm just going to kill everyone in the world. It just makes you see that, yeah, Cyridic, of course, he's a massive threat. But no one else has this just straight up sadistic mindset. Everyone else has some kind of condition that's holding them back. And the use of conditional Nen in this game sealed it for me, right? Conditional Nen's at play. She's got the greatest ability Nen-wise we've ever seen. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I can't see how she loses, really. It's a very sticky situation for everyone else that's involved in this cataclysmic event that's happening, right? The rise of Hayley, the real rise of the new Hayley, the Nen leeches, you know, so to say. And I think that what this chapter does for the story, just to branch out the review, is I believe that it expands the scope of the story. I think this is one of those chapters where we've been given some very interesting knowledge about these kind of secret parties, the Diddy, Hunter x Diddy parties, or the Epstein stuff. It's like the whole conspiracy world has just entered Hunter x Hunter. And I think this can really expand it in many ways. I think that Gyro could be a very good use of this newfound expansion of the worldview, right? Because it's not just different factions now, it's the uncertainties about it, it's the secret societies. And they might even play more into the religious themes, because we know that Christianity, Buddhism, they're both very heavily covered in Hunter x Hunter. I think that this is fascinating, especially just considering how relevant Hunter x Hunter continues to be. Togashi has stayed on this throne of GOAT mangaka for 30 years, from Yu Yu Hakusho to Hunter x Hunter. I mean, this man is just so incredible. I'm in awe of Togashi-sensei. This is, wow. You know, I tried to skim it, right? Because each one of these notes, I told myself, if I don't narrow down what I'm going to say, this is going to be an hour-long video. And I really do want to keep you guys, you know, your attention. I want to make sure that I'm not blabbing too much. So I'm going to leave the review there. I'm going to leave it concise, short, and just say this is a masterpiece. So if you've got a video suggestion you'd like me to do, please leave it down below in the comments. Of course, if you like Hunter x Hunter, just like I love Hunter x Hunter, I do Hunter x Hunter videos every day. So please subscribe if you want to join this journey. And yes, I hope you've all had an incredible day. I wish you all the best. This was Heijugon. Peace out.